All right, welcome everybody to our third week here of our 1102 course. And for this week, it is our first literary analysis essay. So it is the same length as your pre-research essays were in 1101, about 2 pages. So that's going to be about, let's say, an introduction, about 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion, roughly speaking. And the subject story is Virginia Woolf's A Haunted House. That is in the chapter 8 section, Stories for Further Reading. It's very short. It's about, I don't know, maybe a page and a half. However, don't let that fool you in terms of it being simple, because it is anything but simple. In fact, it's rather challenging and difficult in that as a reader, it's kind of hard to find your footing in this story. It's hard to distinguish who is speaking, who the characters are, what we're talking about. What do we mean in terms of a haunted house? Do we mean haunted in the same sense that we conventionally think of a haunted house, or being haunted? So kind of probe and explore your notions of what it means to be haunted, or what a ghost is. Some of you might have seen the Netflix series The Haunting of Hill House, which is based on one of the featured authors in our textbook, Shirley Jackson, has a story called The Lottery that we're not reading this semester. But if you'd like to read a Shirley Jackson story, you could read The Lottery. Anyway, that Netflix show, The Haunting of Hill House, is based on Shirley Jackson's book by the same name, her novel of the same name. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers. I've seen the show, and I quite like it a lot. But the way that show, some of you who have watched it, explores the idea of what it means to be haunted. The unique way in which that show approaches that idea reminds me a lot of how Virginia Woolf explores the idea of what it means to be haunted, or what a ghost is, or the relationship between those who are alive, the corporeal mortal beings such as we, and those who have passed on. And what the story has a lot to do with what it means to be eternal, and what is the buried treasure? Okay, finding that the answer to that is really going to unlock the mystery of the story. And you guys can see in the announcement for this week, what I ask you to do is to explore the story in terms of one of the literary concepts featured in our fiction section in Backpack Literature. So those are things like plot, point of view, character, setting, tone, style, theme, and symbol. I think I've named them all. So pick one of those ways of looking at the story in terms of plot, setting, point of view, etc. Whatever way you want to approach the story and your analysis, and use that scope as a way to answer the question I ask you all to answer, which is, in the announcement, how is this house haunted? Okay, I don't know if I put it exactly like that in the announcement. It's not in front of me at the moment, but it's something like that. How is this house haunted? Or how does the way in which the house is haunted sort of jive with your notion of what it means to be haunted? Okay. Of course, no accident. This is during the week of Halloween, this Wednesday, which, fun fact, is my favorite holiday. So this is very much in keeping with the kind of atmosphere of Halloween and all things spooky. Okay, so A Haunted House by Virginia Woolf. It's not a horror story, I wouldn't say, but it really does kind of ask you, the reader, to re-examine your kind of conventional understanding of the dead, of what survives beyond the grave, of what is eternal. So it's a really interesting story. It is a hallmark of the modernist movement in literature in the early 20th century in America, in Great Britain, and elsewhere in Europe, that focuses on instead of giving you all of the clues that you need to orient yourself within the story, what a modernist writer will often do is kind of complicate that picture. So maybe he or she will withhold information or write in such a style where you as the reader might get a little dizzied by reading the story. Especially if it's like a stream of consciousness type of story. The Catherine Ann Porter story, The Jilting of Granny Weatherall, I would say is a good example of stream of consciousness. Memory kind of weaves in and out with the present setting. Okay, the timeline is kind of jumbled or seamless, fluid. Okay. Yeah, and those things happen in that Netflix series I was telling you guys about, The Haunting of Hill House. I really recommend you guys watch that. It's really fun. It is actually scary too. But the way that the creators explore the characters and ideas and themes in that show, it is kind of stream of consciousness, you could say, to some degree. Same sort of approach we see in the Catherine Ann Porter story and the Virginia Woolf story for this assignment. So the assignment is due. It is an analysis essay that is due by the end of the week on Sunday. If you need any help, reach out to me, Miss Evans, your proctor, and we will do our best to help you guys prepare yourselves and write a solid essay. Okay. So after this week, we get into week 4. We're going to finish up the fiction section. Probably within a couple of weeks, we'll hit some poetry. Your second analysis essay will be on Annabel Lee, the Edgar Allan Poe. So we're coming back to Poe. We started with him with The Telltale Heart. We'll re-examine a piece of his, or re-examine him through another piece, his poem Annabel Lee. That'll be your second analysis essay. And then the final essay at the end of the term is on Act 2, Scene 1 of Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. He himself a contemporary of William Shakespeare, maybe a little earlier than Shakespeare. So I gave you guys the link to all of Dr. Faustus via Project Gutenberg. So you guys can click on the link in the announcement and start reading the whole play if you'd like. It's probably a good idea to do that so that you have some context and understanding, some footing when it comes time to examine the particulars of what is in our textbook, Act 2, Scene 1, in the tragedy section of the drama portion of the text. So I'll give you guys the topic for that final paper in probably a couple of weeks or so. But if you do want to get a head start reading Dr. Faustus, and especially Act 2, Scene 1, keep this in mind. What is at stake here for Faustus? I mean, it becomes clear. But each of us wants to be better than we are. Each of us feels that our potential is not being reached, or that we could surpass what we've currently reached in life. But what happens when you take that too far? When you literally make a deal with the devil, or a devil. Mephistopheles isn't necessarily Satan himself. He's kind of an emissary for the devil, if you want to think of it that way. But what happens when you make a deal with the devil and sell your soul? Is it worth it? Now, of course, conventionally speaking, no, it isn't worth it. And spoiler alert, it's not worth it for Faustus either. Okay, but it's hard. It is hard when you have on offer, being all powerful or having all of the knowledge in the universe. Don't tell me that that's not attractive in some way, okay? Being bigger, better, faster, stronger, being better than who you are. So what is the play saying to readers in terms of striving beyond the acceptable domains okay, of acceptable existence, okay? What happens when you transgress beyond that? When you try, in a sense, to be God, okay? Well, calamity ensues, and your soul is corrupted and destroyed. So have that in mind when you're reading Dr. Faustus, okay? Other than that, happy writing this week. And I'll get to any other backlogged assignments. I know I still have some things to get back to you. I'll do that first thing this week and keep rolling those out. But otherwise, have a great Halloween Wednesday. And we will get back together next week for week 4 of the course. So, all right, guys, I am signing off officially. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week. Till next time.